Hey guys, what's up? I'm Erin and welcome back to the channel. Quick question for you. What age are you planning on retiring? Or if you're not yet thinking about retirement, what age are you trying to reach financial freedom by? Or what age do you want to no longer be dependent on a paycheck? Now, really common answers to this question might revolve around an early retirement, say 55 years old, or perhaps they revolve around Social Security, ages like 62, 67, or even 70. And any of these ages can be a great age to step away from the workforce. Only you know what the best age for you is. But regardless of what age you choose, I like to implement what I've dubbed the 5-year rule. It's a conservative buffer that you can add in that really makes a difference in your golden years. And I have mentioned this previously before in another video, but I think it's an important enough principle that it deserves its own video. So what's the 5-year rule about? So let's say you're planning a traditional retirement at the age of 67. But rather than saving, planning, and investing in a way that has you hitting this target at 67, you would actually get a little bit more aggressive with it. You'd back that age up to 62. So you would save, plan, and invest in a way that would allow you to hit your target by the age of 62. It's a bit of a more conservative strategy that acts as a safety net. The 5-year rule isn't just a random number that I picked out. It's actually a strategic move. Here's why. Many people end up retiring earlier than expected due to various reasons like health issues, unexpected life events, or changes in the job market. Of current retirees, 56% said they retired earlier than expected, while only 7% said they retired later than expected. Only 37% said they retired right on schedule as planned. So essentially, whatever age you pick that you want to step away from the workforce, there's roughly only a third of a chance that you're actually going to hit that target. And what's really important to note is that more than 50% of people actually retire earlier than expected. That's a really important stat to keep in mind when you're doing your financial planning. And we should also consider the reasons people step away from the workforce earlier than anticipated. 45% retired sooner than planned for health reasons, such as physical limitations, disability, or ill health. 42% did so for employment reasons, such as unhappiness, organizational changes, job loss, and/or a buyout, while only 13% retired earlier than expected due to their financial ability to do so. So overwhelmingly, this shows that there is a very real possibility that you could be forced into an early retirement due to circumstances beyond your control. So it's best to be prepared. And at first you might be thinking, so what? What's the difference of 5 years? Well, when it comes to your finances, 5 years actually can represent a radically different retirement picture. The harsh reality of retiring sooner generally means retiring with less money. And let's look at it for a moment from the perspective of Social Security. If you retire and claim your benefits at 62 versus retiring and claiming your benefits at full retirement age of 67, you're going to have a reduced benefit. If full retirement age is 67, claiming your benefit at 62 means you get 70% of your full retirement benefit. For instance, if you were expecting a $2,000 monthly benefit at the full retirement age of 67, claiming at 62 would give you a monthly benefit of $1,400. In this example, your annual benefit goes from $24,000 a year to $16,800 a year. And yes, while Social Security is an important factor to consider, if you're a lifelong investor, cutting 5 years off can have a drastic effect on your portfolio. Let's say you're an astute investor. You started investing $5,000 a year at the ripe young age of 20, and you do that every single year until you reach full retirement age at 67. That's 47 years of investing. Assuming an 8% rate of return, that portfolio could grow to roughly $2.7 million. However, if you retired just 5 years earlier, at that point, with 42 years of investing, the exact same amounts and the exact same rate of return, your portfolio would only be at $1.8 million. And the exact dollar amount doesn't really matter. Assuming a consistent investment rate, you can assume that if you step away 5 years sooner, you end up with a portfolio that is 34% smaller, assuming a 47 versus a 42-year time horizon of investing. If we run the same example with a starting investment age of 30 and a retirement target of 67 or 62, your portfolio would be roughly 35% smaller, and about 37% smaller if you started investing at the age of 40. But let's go back to the original example for a moment. If you're a follower of the rule of 4% and you step away from the workforce with a portfolio that's about $2.7 million, that would provide you an income of $108,000 a year. However, if you step away from the workforce with a portfolio of $1.8 million, that would provide you an income of $72,000 a year. At first glance, you might be thinking, that's okay. I could make either of those retirements work. I mean, that's kind of my thought when I see those numbers. But to be honest, those are very generous account balances. Most people do not have portfolios like that when they go into retirement. So let's run this example again, assuming more modest balances, assuming something more realistic and typical of the average American. What if instead we assumed that a retiree at 67 had a $500,000 portfolio that would otherwise be 34% smaller if they were forced to retire at the age of 62, leaving them with a portfolio of $330,000. Now, using the rule of 4%, a $500,000 portfolio would provide $20,000 a year, whereas that $330,000 portfolio would only provide $13,200 a year. And let's run these numbers factoring in our previous Social Security example. So if that worker makes it to the age of 67, and that is when they retire with that $500,000 portfolio, and that's the age where they claim Social Security, on an annual basis, they would be taking home $44,000 a year as a single income earner. However, if they were forced to retire at the age of 62, and that's the age where they claim Social Security, using the 4% withdrawal on their $330,000 portfolio, on an annual basis, they'd only have $30,000 a year. That 5 years makes a difference. Now, of course, these projections aren't 100% perfect because the stock market doesn't behave perfectly. And just because you're retired doesn't mean you stop investing altogether. Even once you retire, a large portion of your portfolio should remain invested and it should grow over time. But there's no doubt about it that retiring early has a profound impact on your portfolio. Stepping away from the workforce and stopping your contributions will have an impact on your portfolio, especially in those later stages, because at that point, compound interest has a bigger impact on a portfolio in those later stages. We can plan to the best of our abilities, but life is inherently unpredictable at times, and that unpredictability can hit your finances hard, from an unexpected medical event to a layoff or any other event that forces you into an early retirement. That can leave you unprepared and struggling to make ends meet. There is a very real possibility that you may be forced into an earlier than expected retirement. So it's best to plan as if it could happen. Plan on stepping away from the workforce 5 years prior to your actual target. Building in this kind of buffer with a slightly early retirement gives you a cushion to navigate life's uncertainties and unexpected challenges. So if you're willing to embrace the 5-year rule, start off by getting intentional. And the good news is the earlier you start, even minor tweaks can make a big difference. Get clear and get intentional with your goals. If you haven't put much thought into what age you want to step away from the workforce, now's the time to start thinking about it. Once you have that age in mind, back it up 5 years. Then start planning, investing, and saving as if that's the age you're going to step away. To be honest, I'm kind of all over the place when it comes to planning my own retirement. Some days I'm like, I absolutely love what I do. I'm going to continue doing this until I'm at least 70. And then other weeks I think, oh my gosh, I cannot handle another week of 12-hour work days. I have to be done at 55. Just so you know, I do have a full-time day job. It's not just YouTube, so I have a pretty heavy workload. But either way, I save, plan, and invest so that I can be ready for retirement at the age of 50. I don't actually think I'll step away from the workforce at the age of 50, but having that option would be nice. Sure, this plan might require a little more sacrifice on your part. You might have to be a little bit more aggressive with your savings rate. You might have to shave a few more expenses off. But I think it's worth it for financial security. Maybe you hit your target investments at that age, your target age minus 5 years. And maybe you find you actually do want to retire early, and now you have the financial means to do so. So that's great. Or maybe you hit that number and you say, no, I want to continue working. That's great too. No one gets to retirement and saying, oh, I think I saved too much money. Or even if you do, that's a better problem to have than saying, I have too little money. When we're young, we often have this really rosy attitude that we're going to be able to work on our own terms for as long as we want. And I really hope that is your situation. But often as we get older, we have to contend with the realities that there are circumstances beyond our control. Maybe it's layoffs, maybe it's declining health of yourself or your loved one or some other issue. The 5-year rule is not about a race to the finish line. It's not about an early retirement. It's about planning for the unexpected. It's making sure your bases are covered no matter what life throws at you. Are you going to implement the 5-year rule? Leave your thoughts in a comment down below. I post new videos every single week. If you got anything at all out of this one, please give it a like. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, or if you know of someone who might get something out of this type of content and could use a nudge in the right direction financially speaking, consider sharing. I'd really appreciate it. I'll see you soon, guys. Bye.